Welcome to this episode of AU Manufacturing Conversations, which is part of our media partnership with Hannover Messe's Industrial Transformation Australia Expo. ITA runs from July 22 to 24 at the Dome at Sydney Olympic Park. Registration is free and you can see more info in the episode guide. Now on with the show.
I'm Sim, and today we're speaking with Professor Henrik von Scheel, the strategist and futurist who coined the term Industry 4.0. He's widely recognised as one of the masterminds behind the fourth industrial revolution concept. Professor von Scheel is visiting Australia this month as the keynote speaker at Industrial Transformation Australia, where he'll be addressing a critical question. Will Australia be left behind in the current industrial revolution, or is it positioned to lead? With his background as a member of the advisory group that helped define Germany's high-tech strategy and his current role with strategic intelligence at the World Economic Forum, Professor von Scheel brings a unique global perspective on where Australia is in this transformative period. We'll be exploring Australia's current position in Industry 4.0, the technologies that matter most for manufacturers, and what success looks like for a country in this rapidly evolving landscape. Professor von Scheel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. And I'm so excited to come next week to Australia. It's my first time as the Industry 4.0 originator to come to Australia.
Really?
And that's after nearly 2 decades.
Oh, amazing. Well, we're really excited to have you. So to kick us off, can you tell us about your journey to coining the term Industry 4.0 and what drove you to conceptualize this framework?
So back in 2008, when we had the crisis in Europe, Professor Henrik, Professor Scheel, and myself were asked to do a strategy for Germany. And normally when you do a strategy for a country, you look at mega trends and what is shaping the country for the next couple of years. And within that, you realize that you have like 5 to 10 years to react to mega trends. And for a country, you first focus on productivity before you focus on growth. So that was our key focus area. And what we realized in 2008 when we did the strategy for Germany was that mega trends were colliding together. We have never seen that before. And I've been doing strategies for many years. So that's mega trends like mobile phones, like internet, like social media, services, big trends. So that actually, when you see today, your phone today was not your phone in 2008. So these, the internet, the big data, the digitalization, the virtualization, all merged into one. And we call that the phone today. And so we called that at that time the digitalization. And that became the digital the agenda for Europe. All European countries adopted Germany ran it, and that's called the digital theme we have today. 12 weeks ago at CeBIT, I announced the digitalization 2.0, but I will go through that a little bit later with you. But that was the first step, and a half year later, we realized when we had a beer, we realized, holy macaroni, it's more than 5 trends that are colliding together. It's 77 mega trends that are colliding together in a period until 2050. And they're changing every aspect of our life, industries, how our economy works, how consumption works, everything faster than ever before. And I crowned that term the fourth industrial revolution. It was announced in 2011. I have a company called Strategic Intelligence, and we provide all the information reports for the World Economic Forum, and that's why the World Economic Forum is pushing that agenda. But that's some sort of the background to it, and so for many people that are a little bit ChatGPT-like, ChatGPT has this version that can give you whatever answer you ask. Ask for Industry 6.0, it gives you an answer on sustainability and this and this and this. But today we are in the fourth industrial revolution, and it evolves in 8 evolutionary stages. And we are actually now in the fourth of the 8 evolutionary stages. So the first evolutionary stage of the Industry 4.0 is the digital revolution. The second stage is called the technology conversion revolution, right? That's where AI merges in. most people see AI as a revolution, but AI is not really a revolution. AI's revolution will first emerge in the fifth revolution, which is the bio-revolution. That's in 4 years. That's what the full power merges out. So when you look at AI today, it's actually more hype than real value it can add. Then we have the third revolutionary revolution, is called is the environment revolution. So that's a regulatory revolution on sustainability, on less pollution, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And then we have the economic revolution we are in now. And if people don't realize it, we are in one of the biggest economic reshift. We're in an economic globalization reset, and we're in a monitoring reset system. Currently, within the next 1.5 years, our monitoring system will be reset. That only happens so far only 2 times. So what people hear and what is real is not necessarily the same thing. And then we move towards the bio-revolution, which will be the biggest revolution transforming us as humans. And then we move towards the consumer revolution, where we as humans are able to monetize the element that comes into the bio-revolution. Denmark is one of the countries that is started with it last month, that every owner, every citizen is the IP owner of their own pictures and informations, and not the governments and not Facebook and not input, but you are the owner of it. Hence, you can monetize it. Then you have the fusion revolution, and then you have the quantum revolution. And that's also the point where I should probably add the point that the core of any revolutions is often an evolution. And the centerpiece of this is people. So the centerpiece of the fourth industrial revolution is people, our ability to adapt. And the core of it that drives us is actually in manufacturing.
Right. Thank you for that. I feel like you've already answered the first half of this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and then we can get to the second half. So, how has the concept evolved since you first introduced it, and what aspects have surprised you most in its global adoption?
The 77 megatrends have not really evolved. I think the understanding of people have evolved. I mean, like in the very beginning, when I mentioned AI, so the 77 megatrends, and there's 17 megatrends that are technology trends, and one of it is AI. And in 2012, when I announced it, people thought, well, maybe he's smoking too much. So AI is not really mature, hasn't really matured that much. And in 2016, they're all afraid, oh, now we will lose our job and everything will change. But AI is the same AI we've been doing for the last 25 years. We are doing machine learning. Transformers added a humongous step to it. But for companies, and most of it is still the basic things. What you hear in the media is the biggest intellectual stealing of intellectual capital. It's infringement on intellectual capital. And it adds very little value to companies. Companies still need to add value add from the bottom line. So they need to do machine learning baseline, like robotic process optimization, which is narrow AI, symbolic AI. Then they need to focus on developing their own machine learning AI modules, mathematical formulas, and so on. So they still do the same thing. This magic powder that you hear in the press that is there to just flush it over and everything just comes information. It's not true. It's simply not true. It's a it's their version of gathering money. It's their versions of getting more investment in. And most of the big solutions, large language models, will be not the big bang solutions, but they will be specialized solutions, often built within organizations. So that is actually one of the things that is my biggest surprise.
That's interesting that you say that, because obviously I'm a journalist and there is a lot of panic in my field because of AI's ability to basically write articles quicker than I ever could or any other journalist ever could. So are you saying that AI doesn't actually have the ability to it's kind of just regurgitating information and formatting it in a certain way? Do you think that creative industries and things like journalism will be that impacted? Is there still a need for people in those spaces?
So my two things I often say is that technology by itself is worthless. technology is only applied towards something. And AI is like a car, and the car is faster than you. It can do greater things for you in some elements, but you're still the driver of the car. Yes, it will automate some jobs and some people, but in reality, I'm like, it will increase the productivity, but the level of mistakes that is in there is humongous. People are just reflecting to it because it reflects something for them. But I think journalism, your field, would go back to element that we're overloaded with information, but not with real content. I mean, like I'm not even reading the press because it's just, it's just overloaded information. It's just I'm not even sure it makes any sense anymore because it's just loaded, right? So coming back with customized, personalized journalisms where you do investigative elements to it and not just news. The news flashes that comes, you can just build that in. You can have a robot building that, right? An AI chat GDP robot that just captures, scrolls it, and builds it. You don't even need the human interaction to it, and you don't even care if it's fake or not, right? So the whole element of AI in your field, for example, is saying AI watermarking is a big thing. AI IP is a big thing. Where does the information come from that it represents, and which is it infringing something?
Very interesting. But back to sorry for that aside, back to the questions that we had for you. So, in your assessment, where does Australia currently stand in the fourth industrial revolution compared to other developed nations?
I do think that Australia is one of the leaders in technology adoption, but the poorest one in execution. And why? Because they're implementing best practice that they're competing with everybody else about. And in reality, the Industry 4.0 is designed for nations and for businesses to compete and outcompete. And you compete based on people, skills, and expertise that develops a capabilities that is formed in a competencies. That's actually called competitiveness. That's one of my fields. So if you just follow best practices like everybody else does, you don't compete, and you actually Australia, even if they use a lot of money to implement the technology, they're in a disadvantage on the market. It means they need to rethink with the Australian government in a closed-door discussions, how do we approach this to differentiate and to give both the manufacturers, for example, and how do we make sure that manufacturing becomes a better place to be work on? Because manufacturing is the core backbone of Australia. And manufacturing is the core element where engineering resides. So it's where innovation happens. It's where the future is designed. It's where the future workforce is built. So how do you make sure that it's paid well? How do you make sure it's driven well? So that's why you would do that in the closed door discussions and look at models like Germany and South Korea and look at what did they do and how could they boost so much their manufacturing. And then you realize, wow, it's by setting up a banking system that supports inventory financing. And then Australia would see, how can we do that better? That even if our product is sourced at the same price, our resources are more expensive. How can we unlock the capital 9 to 12 months earlier to produce more and ship more and sell more, to be more competitive in the market? So these are the questions that they should go about. And then the other questions that they should go about in saying, for example, sustainability. So as everybody focuses on scope 1 and scope 2 that implement reporting elements, they should focus on how do we profit from sustainability? Because sustainability was designed as a balance sheet exercise for companies to benefit, not to punish them. So one would be if Australia would have more foresight to it, and that's what I'm discussing with the government there, is to say, guys, the 8 evolutionary stages, in which one will Australia play in the biorevolution? The biorevolutions is 8 key pillars, future of food. right? We all talk about AI, but all AI we talk about is AI language models. The biggest play in AI that is coming is AI monocular data. And Australia is not even close having that on the radar. If Australia would invest the next 2, 3, 4 years, Australia could be the player in that area. But they're following what everybody else is saying and is buying what everybody else is saying. So they need to focus on what can we create that is unique that the market can consume from us in the next couple of years. And then in the fusion revolution, it's the same thing. The fusion revolution that is coming and the consumer revolutions are big, big plays where there's specific elements where Australia can play. But if they're not waking up and aggressively investing and not investing in what everybody else does, but investing and out to present something, they will not be a big player there if they're a player there at all.
And what are the key strengths Australia can leverage in this transformation?
I think the key strength that Australia can leverage is that Australia has a very strong focus on people. And they always have an ability to put people in the centerpiece. As AI is so transformative, it will change the way industries are working. And if Australia puts people in the centerpiece, because the more technology we implement, the more rehumanization we need to focus on. And that's one thing Australia is really good at. And at the same time, putting this in the next place that are coming, like the bio-revolution and the consumer revolution. I think that will be one of Australia's key winning points because they're all really very good at adopting people in and putting people at the center. So strategy is only implemented via people, through people, and with people. And if Australia does that, they can have the winning horse.
Perfect. And what are the most significant barriers or challenges holding Australia back?
If Australia follows the hype rather than defining themselves where they are and what they need, they will just consume what is there. Well, I'll start that over if that's okay for you, right? If Australia follows the hype, they will do like everybody else and be a consumer of the product. And Australia needs to develop a product. At the core, everything you hear in the media on technology and all these parts, I would say one thing: the menu is not the meal. What they are telling you is not what you're implementing. And Australia needs to define something, but what the other ones can consume. I do believe you have that opportunity.
Which Industry 4.0 technologies do you see as most critical for Australian manufacturers to prioritize?
Well, AI for definitely is transformative, but AI, the Australian manufacturers have invested enough in technology that they can do something that they couldn't have done before. It's called operate to grow. So they can grow enough with small things like robotic process optimization or smaller pieces and so on, right? There are some pieces that are low hanging fruits, which Australia is they are not seeing them and they're laying on the streets for them, like robotics. Australia thinks everybody else is the leader in robotics because there's 2, 3 countries that produce robotics. The reality is robotics has not really evolved in 10 years very much. So the machinery you can get cheap. In robotics, the core elements in robotics is actually the software. So if Australia's industries and manufacturing decides to build their own robotics and build it cheap on their own software, they can have their own robotics industry. I think one of the elements that focus most on what they need to do in manufacturing is they need to go to the next step on digitalization. Most AI projects that are being branded AI are in reality not AI projects. They are digitalization projects because most manufacturings are not that far in their digitalization yet, and you cannot do AI without digitalization.
How important are connectivity solutions like 5G in driving this transformation?
They're definitely important. 5G by design is, like the 5G would not work without digital twin and digitalization. 5G is just the infrastructure that connects next to it. The honest view, if I'm really honest to you, right, the telecommunication providers have actually been fooling us for the last decade, right? They have been selling us 4G, but they tweaked 3G. They've been selling us 5G, but it's just a tweaked out version of 4G, right? So as manufacturing and the capacity on what we use on data and consume on data and download on data is more and more, the bandwidth is not really there. So we need to revisit the view on how telecommunication works. And I think telecommunications, I'm talking to Telstra when I'm down there, is one of the industry that is under huge disruption. It's under huge disruption because they cannot sell the old wine on new bottles anymore. And because the infrastructure will not hold it, and they need to go celestial, or there are 4 or 5 other elements that are focusing on telecommunications that is able to do 1 terabyte upload and 1 terabyte download. That is the level we need to come at, and that's what was originally called 5G. That's not even close to what they call 5G today. So whatever they're selling us, they're fooling us. We need to move out to the right element so we can move on. If we're not moving on I call it 6G, right? 1 terabyte upload and 1 terabyte download, we have a serious problems because most of our advancements based on our ability to communicate via telecommunications.
Great, thank you. And what role does government policy play in accelerating or hindering Industry 4.0 adoption?
So most governments officials I meet have the heart at the right place. They want to do the right thing for the industries, and they're captured in a load of bureaucracy. But they have the power with policies to do the right things. For example, the storyline I told before on regulations for the banking, for example, the local banks are required to give lending to people's houses and give loans out for local manufacturers. Inventory financing loans would do a huge difference. That means you will offload the governments that they don't have to invest $1 billion, but you create a financial system. So policies are not only to investing, but it's also enabling the business and industries and people to work without that, right? So why is it I mentioned to giving out loans to houses, right? Because we are living, and Australia is a living storyline of this too, right? That means the previous generations, one person could supply a family and have a house, and the family could be raised. Today, you are 2 people working. You can barely make it by to make a house, and you still have to run like crazy. Well, the difference is life has become more expensive, inflation rate increased. That means the ability in manufacturing to make money to support a family is not there the same way. We need to create an ability for families to get loans to have family homes, to have families in manufacturing, that manufacturing becomes worthwhile working on, so you can support a family. We need to make it worthwhile for the normal backbone of our society. If that's teacher, if that's journalist, that they have a way to be a voice in the community and actually raise the next generation and actually being paid by it.
What does success look like for Australia in the fourth industrial revolution?
So maybe I want to start somewhere off a little bit different, right? I do believe most Australians, they feel stressed, they feel exhausted, and they feel that everything around them is changing and getting unhinged. But the reality is we live in one of the greatest times ever. We have more food, we have more time, we have more money, we have better health. We live in one of the most greatest time ever. There's nobody who can listen to my voice who wouldn't say that they are the most blessed generation of the past 5 generations in their family. And that's a reality. We're just stressed and we're exhausted because everything is unhinged. We're in a period of disruption, and that means everything, our economic pillars, bureaucracy, and many things are totally, utterly unhinged. But that means we need to create a certain element of stability, and the stability we need to create is the human side of it. The more technology we need, the more humanity we need to implement. So the fourth industrial revolution is, for any person that listens to my voice, also one of the biggest opportunities for them to evolve to a new career path, to develop new skills, to decide on how they want to shape the next generations. The next generations has many important decisions to take. And I think one of the biggest learning points we can have from the past generations, we should hand over the baton earlier than later.
On that note of everything being unhinged, what would you say to Australian manufacturers who feel overwhelmed by the pace of technological change?
I would say that the technology is not the solution. It's the people side that is the solution. It's how you implement technology to get more automated, optimized, integrated, aligned more. Because everything is unhinged, manufacturers do have an opportunity, right? In front of their eyes, Google is changing. What does that mean? That means their connection to the consumer side changes. The connection to the supply chain changes. At the same time, they also realize AI gouging enters. That's also changing. So the personal relationship to the customers, how they build a new channel towards the customers, and how they build a new channel towards their ecosystem of value chain partners are two critical parts. And it's both the element we say, well, the one element that entered into them that wasn't on the mega trends before was trust. Because whatever product they're selling, the real product that they're selling towards their value chain or customers is trust. So, how do they convey trust in their product, in how they use a channel and how they sell? So, it's an opportunity that is rarely given where you can rethink the pieces that you already work with.
And looking ahead 5 to 10 years, what opportunities do you see for Australia to lead rather than to follow in this space?
It's the biorevolution. The biorevolution is the biggest transformational change that we will ever see in our human history. It's AI molecular data. It's the future of food. It's the future of medicine. It's how data enters into our body. It's how we become a carrier and the owner, and our reality changes. It's how medicine changes. How medicine has been customized. There are 8 main pillars. It's the biggest transformational change that happens because the technology we all talk about and the unhinged world that is outside suddenly enters the inside version of us. It changes the core of our evolution of being human. So, can Australia be part of it? Yes. Do I want Australia to be part of it? Yes. Why? Because Australia has a very strong moral compass. In an element where everything is about profit, we need somebody with a very strong moral compass. And that's what Australia has. Australia also has an exceptional strong manufacturing space, but they need to have an element, they need to have a leapfrog to enable them to participate in leading in the biorevolution.
And on that note, you will be visiting Australia soon to give a talk. So, what can attendees expect from your keynote at Industrial Transformation Australia?
So I think I have 3 keynotes. I have one keynote on manufacturing. I will present the mega trends that they wouldn't have seen before. The mega trends that are shaping manufacturing in terms of productivity, in terms of resilience, in terms of growth. I will highlight some of the core principles that they can do. And then I'm focusing on process the next day on the mega trends for process industries. Process industry is a huge one, right? And that's actually, I think, the biggest manufacturing aspects within Australia. Then I have a session on sustainability, how sustainability changes the balance sheet. Everybody who meets up and wants to meet me, I will stay around for half an hour after the speech. Whatever idea they have, whatever initiatives they want to start, I'm here and I'm here to serve. I'm here to meet exciting people. I'm here to explore new things. And I'm also here to leapfrog Australia governments. I'm meeting a couple of these guys, and I hope I can move them a bit.
Brilliant. And what key message do you hope participants take away from the event?
that they actually see how they can fit into the future and how they can participate.
Great. And that wraps up all of our questions for today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.